Today we are talking about house sitting. Why? Because it's a great way to explore and discover a place that you are thinking of or planning on moving to. And many of you are obviously thinking about or planning to move to Portugal. Now this really does only work for animal lovers, because although it's called house sitting, it is really more pet sitting as well as house sitting. So if you don't know me and you're wondering why I'm talking about house sitting, I have been house sitting full time all over Portugal for 2.5 years. Since starting house sitting, I have stayed in 35 homes. I've looked after 35 dogs, 32 cats, 7 horses, 4 geese, 11 chickens, 5 peacocks, 3 hamsters, 2 rats. Yeah, 2 rats. I didn't think I'd like them, but it went okay. A number of fish. I've stayed in 3 off-grid properties. I've looked after 2 Airbnbs. That was my choice because I love Airbnb, and I said it was all right for the homeowners to keep them running, that I would take care of seeing the guests in and out. And I've had 3 house sits where there were no pets. That's not so usual, but occasionally you get them. Gosh, if you had watched my last video, you would have known that it had been raining for quite a few weeks. It was very cloudy and overcast, and yeah, the weather had been quite miserable for a few weeks, but look at it now, and it's gorgeous. The reason I'm talking about house sitting a little bit more in depth this time is because I had a really exciting message from somebody recently. Now, I'd been communicating with this person a little while back because they had some questions about house sitting, and they had said they had, in their words, a pipe dream to move to Portugal. And for them, it was a pipe dream because of circumstances, finances and stuff. But anyway, I sort of delved a little bit deeper, and I suggested my hack for getting paid while you house sit, which they took, they went away after asking me all these questions and asking me about house sitting. Anyway, so this message I got the other day was that they had taken on board what I had said, started house sitting, and were well on their way with their now plans. It wasn't just a pipe dreams, they was well on their way with their plans for moving to Portugal, because they had done house sitting, started house sitting, and used this method that I suggested to also earn some money while doing it. So I just thought there might be other people that really could benefit from the fantastic advantages of house sitting. First of all, some of you may not even know what house sitting is. So let's explain. Gosh, as lovely as that sun was, I've had to actually come in the shade. It was quite warm on my face. I'm not used to it. Gosh, there's no pleasing some people, is there? Anyway, so what is house sitting? So quite simply, house sitting is a service where individuals known as pet sitters or house sitters take care of pets and homes while the owners are away. And I use the term homeowner, but obviously if you're in rented accommodation, you can enlist a house sitter as well. I've had some people think that they've got to ask permission from their landlord. No, it's your home and you do home-like activities. And if that includes getting a house sitter, you are allowed to do that. But I just use the term homeowner. So the general onus is on pet sitting, because generally houses can look after themselves. Although, like I mentioned, I have done house sits where there are no pets because for security reasons and maintenance reasons, people may want a house sitter. But generally, the primary responsibility is looking after and ensuring the well-being of pets. So you're going to be doing things like feeding, exercising, providing companionship for pets, because one of the reasons is not just like their physical care, but it's also them not missing out on the love and attention that they would get from their owners. So additionally, and if it is just a non-pet house sit, you're also going to be taking care of tasks related to the home. So things like collecting mail, watering plants, watering the garden, in somewhere like Portugal obviously is important, ensuring the overall security of the property, keeping pools clean, mowing the grass, weeding, light weeding. And then sometimes there are more in-depth chores, like obviously if you're looking after horses, there's going to be things like turning out the horses, mucking out. But it varies. Properties vary in size, pets vary in size and number of pets. Oh, and just to add, the type of house sitting I'm talking about is free house sitting. So it's a peer-to-peer mutual exchange, sharing economy type exchange. So the house sitter gets free accommodation and the opportunity to live in and explore an area that they're interested in, and the homeowner gets their home and pets looked after. And it really is a win-win situation. Sometimes the homeowner, it might seem like the homeowner's getting the better end of the deal, like when you're up at the crack of dawn to turn out horses, muck out their stables, let out chickens and geese and walk dogs all on one house sit. Or like here, I feel like I'm getting the better end of the deal because it's a really easy house sit. There's just one beautiful, easygoing, lovely, simple to look after cat, no high maintenance, no drama, an absolute sweetie. It's a beautiful property and I feel like I'm getting the better end of the deal. But it really is win-win, and it swings and roundabouts, but in the end, everybody benefits from this mutual exchange. So now you know what house sitting is, you may be wondering why and who would choose to house sit. So one of the main reasons for house sitting is accommodation costs. Usually for travel, instead of paying for a hotel or an Airbnb or a holiday let, people will house sit instead. Obviously digital nomads, or someone like in my situation where you're doing it full time and then you save on rent and mortgage costs. Reason number 2, to experience a place you might not otherwise have the opportunity to, maybe because of cost, because it's in one of the most expensive areas in the most expensive cities in the world. Or maybe it's the type of property like a huge manor house with swimming pool and tennis courts. Or maybe you want to try out a type of living. I've been able to stay in completely off-grid properties for many weeks at a time and really try it out in the winter, in the summer. Stay in an off-grid dome in the middle of nowhere. And yes, there is a geodesic dome on Trusted House Sitters. Experience living rural, experience living in a city, whatever you're not used to. Sometimes there are areas where there just isn't anything available to rent, no hotels or holiday lets, so you get to stay in that little village, that exclusive area or remote area. And as I say, it is ideal for trying out a way of life. Another reason is getting the local experience. Homeowners will often introduce you to their friends, you get to talk to the neighbours. Sometimes I might go meet up with the homeowners' friends because they normally walk the dogs together, so I step in and do the same. You would never get that kind of local experience staying in a hotel or an Airbnb. Yesterday we were picking kiwis and putting them in this paper bag, apparently that they will keep for quite some time. So I mean, I've got together with neighbours and harvested grapes, picked olives, picked kiwis. That's an experience you don't get unless you know locals. It's almost as if you get to step into someone else's life and try it out. Another reason is a change of scenery or a quiet place to work. If you work from a laptop or you've got a project to get done, sometimes it's nice to just be somewhere different. I know someone that booked some house sits in quiet country cottages because she was writing a book, and she booked lots of house sits to buckle down in a quiet area to write. So, trying to be clever, moving all around to try and keep it interesting, but I'm bored now and I can't even remember what I've said and what I haven't said, what points I've covered. But just in case I did forget, another reason for house sitting, which I think is very relevant to some of you, is trying out an area that you might want to settle. Get to see what an area is like, really be in the community, and I think it's great for that, which I think is one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk about it on this channel, because I think it's quite relevant to many of you. And another main reason, and one of the reasons I do it, is for the love of animals. There's many reasons why some people can't, particular periods of their life, commit to the long-term commitment of having a pet. So by house sitting, you get to enjoy the company of other people's pets and enjoy animals without the commitment and responsibility and restriction of having your own full time. And just, I think I did mention this before, but just to reiterate again, no matter what the reason, you do have to remember that you are responsible for animals and people's homes, and it is not just purely a free ride. It is an exchange, and you do have some responsibilities as well. But as I keep saying, it is win-win, and I think it's great for both parties, and especially for the animals. So we've covered the pet sitter. Now the other side of the coin, the homeowners. Why do people enlist house sitters, and what do they get out of it? Now, the number one reason I think has got to be it's great for the pets. I mean, it's much better than them going off to boarding kennels, to catteries. And there are some animals that you just can't board. I mean, you can't board chickens and goats, and horses you can, but you'd have to box them, but you get the drift. And so pets get to stay in their own environment, keep their own routine, go for their same walks, the same place, the same time. Nothing's changed for them except for the human that's looking after them. And trust me, as soon as they see that, oh, you're taking over, you feed them the same, you walk them the same. If any pets are a little bit apprehensive to begin with, a feed and a walk, I say, one feed, one walk if it's a dog, and they are good. I've only ever had one cat that just, it was only for a weekend, but she just stared at me the whole weekend as if to say, what are you doing in my house? But I was warned that she was like that. I knew lots of other people that had done the same house sit, and it was the same for everyone. So thank God it wasn't just me. So another reason is a little bit similar to the security, property maintenance. So keeping the lawn mowed. Is that a word? Mowed. Mowing the lawn, maybe some light weeding, looking after a vegetable patch, and as the homeowner you often are invited to eat whatever you harvest, keeping pools clean, so, you know, collecting the mail and make sure there's not a build-up of mail that's obvious to anybody that passes by. You know, I mean, you get them automatic things, but sometimes people just want the place to look like it's lived in, lights coming on and off. Some people want the house kept warm. Just keep the place generally ticking over. Another thing is some people just feed, I've had this a few times, feed wild birds and don't want that left. They want the feeders kept topped up while they're away. Here in Portugal, it's very common for people to want you to feed stray cats. They don't own their own cats, but there are strays that they feed regularly, and they want somebody to keep that up too. And then similar to with the house sitter, it's cost again. If you've got several pets, then you've got to pay a daily rate for each pet, for kennels or a cattery. And that can really add up. If you're going away again for long periods, that can really add up, apart from the fact that it's much nicer for the pet to be in their own home. And as I said earlier with the pets, it's not just the basic needs of the pet, like feeding, walking, changing litter trays. It's also company, cuddles, love, affection. If someone's going away for 3 weeks, they do not want their dog missing out, or dog or cat or any animal any animal, I'll come back to that, missing out that for 3 weeks. So rats, when I had to look after the rats, one thing I always do is have a video call with the homeowners before agreeing to the house sit as part of the process of getting the house sit. And I did say to them, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure about the rats, because the rats belong to some teenagers and they took them out every day. They gave them a run and like them to have cuddles. And I just said to them, well, I do like animals to be, you know, let out of their cage and be free, but I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure if I can do it with the rats. And so yeah, so all sorts of animals need cuddles and affection and attention. But just for your information, the rats were fine. I had a little go and me and them were best buddies by the second day. Another reason is home security. As I said, non-pet house sits aren't so very common, but I have done a few and they have been purely for that reason. One homeowner had been burgled before and just didn't, you know, that had stayed with her and she didn't like the thought of leaving her house empty. Here in Portugal as well, I have had homeowners that have had attempted thefts while they were actually in the house because somebody local, a little light-fingered person, thought they was away. So yeah, obviously home security. If you want to go away for a long period, then I mean, some in the UK, some home insurance, you can only leave your house empty for 30 days. I think the norm is about 90 days. So if you did leave your house empty for a longer period and there was some kind of issue with the house, whether it be weather, a burst pipe or a burglary, your home insurance void. So there's the home security. So I think that's about it for now for this video. In the next video, I'm going to talk about joining trusted house sitters. And I don't even think I've mentioned trusted house sitters. There are many house sitting websites, but that's the one I use and that is my preferred one. I have used others, but I think that site is way superior. Anyway, we'll talk about that on the next video. And I want to talk about joining trusted house sitters and the different there's 3 different tiers, so the different membership options. It's not as straightforward as you might think. I always used to just recommend go for the basic one, but not anymore because they've changed slightly. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about getting your first house sit and tips and tricks for getting going and getting started and getting those reviews. So if you're interested in house sitting, obviously you've made it this far, so you must be. So that's what we'll be talking about next time.